Okay, welcome. So, a lot of you have been asking for a battery repair training course. Where do I get formal training? Where do I get this? Doesn't really exist from what I can see, apart from if you're being ripped off by somebody. So, what we're doing is a free course here. We're going to show you week by week different bits that we use, different faults, different repair methods. We're going to start today with episode 1, and that's going to be on basic equipment. That's going to be mostly for fault finding. Some of the stuff I show you today is also for the repair stuff, but I'm going to highlight which bits are for fault finding, which bits you need first. I'd start with those ones if I were you. Now, we are going to be talking most of your basic batteries, so we're looking at these types to begin with. We are going to cover flex faults a little bit as well, but the majority is going to be this type, and it's going to be cell technology, not necessarily pouch, so we're not really going to go into any of that stuff. So most people will have these. They'll have these brands, they'll have Ryobi, they'll have Makita, they'll have Bosch, all sorts of things, but this is the basic technology that I'm going to show you. So to get started, how do you open the packs? Now, I generally use this Milwaukee installation driver. I've got this Fantic thing as well that I've been using recently, but you've also got the manual screwdriver. So you have got options. So jump straight into the expensive Milwaukee, use a manual screwdriver, use the Fantic, whatever you do. But you also need bits, and you've got to get the right bits for these. These are the Torx bits with the hole in the middle. So all sorts of different ones I've used, rounded off, etc., etc. I get the cheaper ones because no matter how expensive you buy, they generally round off in the end anyway. So I'll put all the links in the description as well for this. But take your pick, which way you're going to go. Drawer full of bits here as well. There's many options that you can have for this. All you need is the right size to get the screws out of the different packs, and generally they're fairly similar. So you can get packs like this, with all your different bits in. These will come in handy when you're doing tool repair, and we will be doing that. That'll be some of the later episodes after the battery stuff. But these don't have the holes in the middle. You can also do the same with the DeWalt sets, but again, they don't have those holes in. So you've got to get, sometimes they're called security bits if you've seen those, but the Torx bits with the holes in. That's all you've got to make sure you get. It's pretty simple. These are the ones I'm using at the minute. You can see they're almost rounded, some of those. The ones where you can see the silver, I'm going to have to buy new soon. So the darker ones, obviously, I haven't used very much, but you can see in the middle there's probably about 4, which are used quite often. So they're simple ones, again, from Amazon, nothing too special. Now, if you look at these Milwaukee ones, for example, if we focus in, it doesn't have that hole in the middle. It's not going to help you with many of the battery packs because they all have the security bit, if you like, to get those out. So this is what I recommend, just a cheap and cheerful pack like this. Probably a few of them. If you're going to buy them, if you've got some spare cash, just grab 2 sets. You're going to need them in the end anyway. Another option, I used this Bosch kit for a while. It's pretty good. It's got the holes in the middle, you can see at the top on that row, but it's also got the tiny ones down here. So I believe it's a number 6 that we use on the Milwaukee boards, for example. There's a smaller screw at the top and a larger one in the middle. The smaller one is normally that. So these are just some options. So as I say, very simple here. What are you going to use to open the pack? It's a pretty obvious place to start, really, and this is going to be a fault finding thing. So from there, you're going to need 2 flathead screwdrivers. So you're going to need a precision one and then a normal size one. Now these are ones that I use in all of my videos. You can probably see the one on the right is basically destroyed there. We've had to redo that on the grinder a few times. This is a Weira set. This is the England set. I think it was a rugby set. Also got the Scotland one and the Irish one as well. Didn't get the Welsh one. I don't know why. It was pretty much out of stock straight away, so it's more popular. But the only thing is the England one has got those precision sets. That's why you see me using those more than anything else. So this is one of the key tools for fault finding and for repair, really. So you're going to need those. The larger one actually helps you get in the cells out the packs. You could just use something like this. I mean, this was a cheapy Halfords one or B&Q years ago. But this one is on the way out, but I think I can get more life. Another option, these sort of ratcheting type ones. So if you don't want to go power tool, you don't want to go manual, you've got the option of something in the middle there. That's the Weira, the Christmas one actually. And then this is a Weir, correct me if I'm saying these wrong, but this is a manual one again, but just a little bit better quality. So different screwdriver options. So on from there, we're talking wire strippers. Now, when we're looking at wire strippers, we're actually looking at some of the counterfeit batteries. So you'll probably see that as you start looking at different packs. The main ones that need you to use some sort of replacement wire or something like that are unfortunately the knockoffs, the false versions of different batteries, but they're all over the place. You might have them yourself and you want to repair them. So this is where I started. This was from Screwfix back in, I think, 2006, 2007, but it still works to this day. I moved to something like this, an automatic wire stripper from Parkside. It does stick at the top, but it's not particularly great. Probably what you'd expect, but it's usable. Then I went to this Milwaukee, but the holes are really quite large in here, so this is for bigger bore cable, if you like. At the moment, I've set on this Blue Point, so this gets the really fine cables, and it really seems to be quite good. I am looking for an automatic one that's smaller, that's better than the Parkside one, but certainly this is my set, if you like. This is where I've gone from, and it's where I've settled. So any wire stripper in a nutshell, but you just need that if you're dealing with counterfeits. If you're not, then you don't really need it at all for battery repair at the moment. So moving on from there, what we're going to look at is tin snips. So you'll notice this is mostly when you come into repairs. So I started with this JCB set here, quite rusted now on the other side, little spots all over it. But it definitely served its purpose, if you like, at the beginning. So that's good. Then I moved on to this Milwaukee. Quite chunky, though, is the only thing I'd say about this. Quite large. Certainly worked for cutting little bits of nickel, but just quite big. That was the issue here. So recently found this. This is from Ox. Really quite small, quite handy. And the teeth there are actually quite thin themselves as well compared to the others. So you can get into smaller gaps. So certainly this is where I am at the moment, looking for even smaller if that exists. So please chuck it in the comments if you've seen one that's even smaller than this. Be really good. I'm looking for something about there, just so you can get into different tight areas, and you'll see that when we come to do some of the repairs. It certainly is useful. So that's where we are, and you're going to be cutting all sorts of little bits of nickel when you come to the repair side. So this is the one that I'd recommend, but equally any tin snips, whatever you've got will probably be good enough at this point. Doesn't really matter. And another one, we'll come to some crimping at some point, but this is also obviously a wire stripper there at the bottom. This is much more advanced, mostly tool repair actually, but this is quite an older one that I use occasionally. You don't necessarily need that at this point if you've got one of those other wire strippers. So then we come to some sort of knife, some sort of blade. I generally use this Milwaukee fastback. You can see by the colour of it, it's been used quite a lot. There's all sorts of other things here. I really like this one. I mean, by Tough Built, you can just change it to a scraper at the top there. It's pretty good. There's also, many different options. This is a Sirius, but on the other hand, there's Ox, there's whatever. There's thousands of these things. As long as you've got something that cuts. Other options, scissors. So we always have these up just above us, not for cutting nickel or anything like that. But sometimes you have to put special tape on batteries and all sorts of things, and it's good to have something to cut. That's a really good option. Another one, though, this is really for cable. If you're cutting any of those little bits again, this is pretty good, pretty nifty bit of a kit that we found recently. Certainly cuts really well. Nipex scissors here, or whatever they are, cable scissors, but they're pretty nice. I do like these. So good options, a few different scissors, a few different knives, whatever you want, just as long as you got something, because at some point you'll need to cut something. So that's what we've got. That's our selection. Generally is that Milwaukee fastback, and generally those scissors as well. So all of this is within arm's reach as well. So another thing that we don't really mention in this episode is your setup of your workshop, and that's probably something we'll show you a picture. Everything is at arm's length. Spudgers. So this is one of the most important tools you can get. Tiny little bit of plastic, but it's going to help you with fault finding, picking bits out of connectors, all sorts of stuff. You see it's sharp at one end almost and flat at the other. This is very, very important for fault finding, and one of the key bits that you should get, but also probably one of the cheapest. So you can pick up little packs of 5, packs of 10 of these, and I'll pop them in the description as well. So that's those. Pretty useful bit of equipment. Better than sticking a screwdriver in certain places. So ESD safe tweezers. You'll need these when we come to soldering. You could certainly just not use them, get yourself burnt, get yourself shocked, all sorts, no problem. So little snips. So you'll see these when we start doing some of the repairs. I generally use these to take the ends off on top of the cells. You'll see that, the connections. I use this one really for that sort of job, and it's gone quite blunt. The other one I use for nice things, if you like, things that are not going to blunt them. I don't want to blunt the Milwaukee ones. So that's those two. Some sort of grabby pliers, I would suggest. Needle nose pliers, angled ones, whatever you want. Something at some point you're going to need to grab something where you can't quite reach. So that's definitely worth it. This is probably the most important thing, a brush. So I always use a brush on batteries. People talk about using compressors, but you just don't want to risk putting all that high-powered air on circuits. This is much easier, much better and safer. So, you could use something like that, but crazy. I use this in just about all the videos I do, give them a good brush down, and you need that for fault finding so you can see what's underneath all that dust and dirt. Now, gloves, I was going to put this in the consumables episode, but in theory it is a tool, I'd say. It's something that you really need. It's quite key. A few different options. This one is because it's been freezing recently. It's got no fingers in. Fairly useless, to be honest, but just keeps your hands a bit warmer. Now, this one here is what I would suggest. Something like this. I generally just have it in my left hand and have something like the spudger in the right and have the battery there in the left, and I'm just sort of moving it around like this, checking things, touching things, testing things, and that gives you some really good protection there. It's a rubberized grip. It's going to protect you from little, hopefully it doesn't happen, but little shocks. It's going to protect you from whatever could happen, hopefully. Now these ones are the basic, so if you don't want to get these types of Milwaukee gloves, you can just get basic gloves like this. These are going to give you some of that protection as well. They are obviously rubber or latex or whatever material you find, but these I use generally when things are really oily and dirty. So throwaway gloves, if you like. So they're the ones I use. A couple there. This is probably the favourite one at the minute that I'm using. It just keeps you a little bit safer. Got a big pack of those. And these ones you'll probably see when I'm freezing cold, if I've been in some of the videos recently. It has been snowing. So they're the gloves. Following on from that then, this, if we start doing flex vault stuff, and I'm going to do an episode of just flex vault, this is something we're going to need later. So a diamond cutter, but it's quite niche, if you like, for a certain activity, but I'll show you that as we get to it. Now, moving on then, this is key. So when we're doing fault finding, there's not a lot you can do without a voltmeter. You can press the button, you can put it on the charger. That's all you could do if you didn't have this. What you'll need to do is find the right one for you. Now, I use mostly the Fluke there on the left. I've got a couple of others though, and I just want to show you the differences here. So the Fluke one is my favourite at the moment. It's probably, it's one of the better ones out there, I'd say. But all you need is something that gets DC voltage and has got some good probes. Now these probes are the really thin ends, so you can get different types of them. You see this one here, very different again, quite wide at the end and doesn't get into the right places. So these I can get right between the cells, right between the metal strips on the side of the cells. Those other ones, you can't always do that. It's quite fiddly and annoying. So certainly something with that. I mean, if you had a battery then, for an example, I can get these just on here like this. I don't have to take it apart or anything like that. If I'm using this, can't get in there. It doesn't actually touch the metal down there. So I've got to take this apart before I can do that next bit of fault finding. With these ones, you can get them straight in there. You can buy them separately as well, which is good. This is all you need. Really, really basic, good quality thing. That's all I would say. This one is too complicated. So it's great, it works if you know what you're doing, but if you're a beginner, you don't want to be worrying about, which power you're on there, which power of 10, etc., which decimal point you want to be bothered about. But something like this from Parkside, I think this was £15, something like that, £20. This does very basic stuff and it's all you need. So it's got DC voltage there at the bottom, tells you what you need. I would just recommend different probes in it, that's about it. But if you didn't do that, you could even just take the battery apart. You don't even need to buy new probes. So pick yourself up something cheap like this to get going with. All you need is measuring of voltages, generally between 0 and 20, 21 at the most. So that's all you need. Not too bad. Doesn't need to go down to millions and millions of decimal places. It's just a simple thing. This one is overly complicated for what you need. So that would be my suggestion. Something like the Parkside. If you're going to be doing this a lot, I'd go for the Fluke one. But there's many brands out there. Obviously don't listen to me. Just pick the one that you want. It's good if you work with one already and you know how it works. When we come to the tool repair, you'll need to do a little bit more in terms of resistance measuring, continuity tests, things like that. So if you know how yours works, brilliant. You don't need to worry about anything else. Now, then, the final thing for today is going to be mats. So you can see this mat in front of you. I use all the time in my videos. It is basically a solder safe mat, ESD safe mat. You can put components on here and it's all fine. Obviously, hoover up those little bits of metal that are all over this, but this is a really good option, something for your worktop. There's also this smaller one I have on my little battery bay behind me. I've got a few of these over there, but the rubberized mats, the burn proof, they're throwaway things if you need to, replace them once a year or so. But this thing, you can hide the parts in there. It's got magnets down the side. It's got all sorts of different bits where you can put different parts, different screws, that sort of thing. This one is just as good, really. It's a little bit smaller. Hasn't obviously got that covered thing, but look, you can fit your battery there. You can put your stuff around it. You can not lose things if you want to number them here. But it's all you need, and it's sort of slip resistant as well, so pretty good. So pick one that works for you. These are really cheap as well, £5 to £10. So that was it for the first one. It is looking like a bit of a shopping list, but there are certain things you need before you get going. The next one is going to be further equipment. This is going to be the powered stuff. So the power supply, the different types of spot welders, all sorts of things like that. I'm going to go into some detail. I'm going to show you how I made the cables. That's another question a lot of people ask me all the time, because you can't necessarily buy all these things, or I can't find them. So I've had to make some of this equipment myself. So I'll go through all of that, show you how to do that, and appreciate the first few of these are just going to be stuff you need. We're going to then get into fault finding, all the different faults. We're going to do all the different repairs. We'll really try and cover everything we possibly can. And then we'll move over to tools by the end of the year. So come back for part 2. That'll be the further bits of equipment. And don't forget to subscribe so that you can see these coming out every week.